Trump has reacted to Europe's reaction, which you can also call pretty drastic. I mean, in a way, it's quite a shrewd maneuver to send troops over to Greenland in a multilateral way, and for all the different countries to contribute. The funny thing is, from what I understand, the UK have sent one soldier, which I guess is symbolic, to join the group of the European force that has been assembled and sent over to Greenland. And it kind of makes sense. It doesn't seem to me as a outwardly unnecessarily aggressive stance to take. From the point of view of NATO, has a responsibility, and it has a place already. It has already has a position in Greenland. They already have troops over there. They already have bases over there, and they already have a responsibility to protect the islands if they were ever to be attacked by anyone, mainly Russia or China or anyone who may have non-positive intentions for the island. Now, I get it where Donald Trump comes from. If you're gonna sort of take him at his word and take the US at their word when they talk about national security interests. So yes, this is true. Where Greenland is positioned is crucial to the Western allies and the USA's national security. And with climate change, which I don't think Donald Trump believes in, the melting of the icebergs, it has and will be opening up new shipping lanes, from what I understand, which is going to change the landscape geographically over time. So these are probably some reasons that Greenland is gaining increasing importance in the scheme of things now. And why not 10 years ago? Why not 15 years ago? I mean, why weren't we having these conversations about Greenland? Why wasn't it so sought after? You could say it's taken someone like Donald Trump to step in and see the value of this very sparsely populated island over there, very close to the North Pole. From what I understand, it's about 63,000 people live on the island, and most people are populated along the shoreline, along the coast. And that's also where a lot of the rare materials that can be found on the island can be located. They also say that a lot of these rare materials can be found in other parts of the world, are very difficult to extract from Greenland, and in some cases, be it the oil, gold, or other rare minerals, particularly the type that are needed for the computer manufacturing and that sort of a thing, they can be found miles down into the land. So anyway, coming back to the recent events that has stirred everything up, stirred the pot, with Europe actually taking action of a sort rather than just doing what they normally do or we normally do, is a lot of conversation and actually sending a symbolic group of defense troops, however you describe them, over to the island. I mean, on one hand, it shouldn't really be such a strange sight or strange action for the Europeans to take, as that's the responsibility they already have and have had for years. And I get it, it's a show of support for Denmark, like symbolically to say that we're with you, you're not on your own, be it the fact that you're a small island, you're not on your own, if things did heat up, we've got your backs, and we're going to act as a united force. And it's true, as Donald Trump has reminded the world, and in this case, particularly Europe, of late, that, the United States Army is probably one of the most modern, strongest, and well-funded forces on the planet. Although it doesn't mean to say that, these smaller countries and NATO members, when they get their act together and actually come together, cannot pose a problem to any aggressor, or cannot stand as a very strong form of support if they were defense, if a NATO country was to really be attacked. The thing that really spins it upside down and around is the fact that these are allies, yeah? These are supposedly a group of friends. You have one bigger, stronger, tougher friend who's been more proactive and has more grander ambitions than the other members of the group. Or, with all that said, this is supposed to be a group of friends, and a group of friends that have always, on paper, acted together. So this is where it gets very twisted. So if you got this group of friends and they're unable to sort out their differences in the usual, more peaceable way, and now there's threats of, obviously, last resort, which seems to be brought to the table as a first resort, where you're going to take military action to prove your point or accomplish your goal. And that is what Donald Trump has been quite openly threatening. And now, with the action Europe has taken, the threat has been reciprocated by this European action, and reciprocated by Trump's action with the tariffs. Hopefully it's not going to be the start of a trade war, and that's where I would say Starmer, at least in the last 24 hours, has rose to the occasion, and he's pretty much held a strong, balanced position, with the fact that he hasn't gone off and dived straight in like some may have wanted him to do, with, right, you hit us, we're going to hit you back, because that's not really going to end well for the UK. It ain't going to end well for Europe. That doesn't mean that they haven't got a position and, a position that they can defend, and a point that they can quite aggressively make if necessary. It just means that in terms of going off in the direction of a tariff war, yeah, it's better than a physical war, militarily speaking, though I don't think we're at that stage yet. It might seem like it is. So Europe has reacted now to all this back and forth and banter that's been going on for quite some time now, at least in recent weeks, and they've made a sort of display, show of force, not so much chest beating. They've pretty much just said that, we gotta deal with this from a more balanced position. And also, I think if they didn't react in this way, we'd be going down the road of appeasing. And, it's a kind of odd context, as we're, again, talking about allies. So there should be more room for agreement here. Where it kind of falls off, I think, in Donald Trump's argument, if you're looking at it rationally, that anything America may need that they don't already have in terms of national security, that they may need from Greenland, they can have. They can, have increased bases. From what I understand, they had over 13 bases on the island from the end of World War II, and they had, multiple bases, and they shut down 10 plus, I think around 13 of those bases, and remain in one. So if they want to reopen bases, expand bases, come up with some new defensive structure as a leading part of NATO, there's nobody standing in their way. I would say, though, in Donald Trump's defense, every time he's acted in this type of way, not just in terms of Greenland, but also in terms of giving the NATO team a kick up the behind, is kind of got NATO to wake up from their slumber and realize that they've got to invest more. They've got to kind of hold up their end of the bargain more than they have been, because, you know, they've been asleep on the job pretty much. I don't think they're asleep right now, but they have been asleep on the job previously. So better late than never. They're now realizing that in some key instances, they're going to have to find a way to take the lead and represent their bloc. You know, it's going to never be the size of America's, you know, defensive bloc. Although if they are part of a team, you put the NATO countries together, the vast majority of them, and you've got quite a large defensive group. So anything the US wants, they can have. So this is obviously not just about national security. It's becoming more and more clear that this is just about conquest. It's about expansion. Because if you're talking about just putting your flag on a sovereign territory, so you can now say this is now part of this country, rather than, you know, we're already, we've got our bases on your island, we already work with you, we're already part of the same team, and that's not good enough, then, or that's not enough, then, yeah, it becomes more and more obvious that what you're really asking for is ownership. You want to be able to say pretty much, this is mine. Now, the question is, to what extent is Donald Trump, President of the USA, prepared to take this and we all know he's not somebody who easily takes no as an answer. And coming from sales, being a businessman, property developer, etc., someone who's used to acquiring and having things done his way, yeah, it's going to take some smart juggling to settle this openly and behind the scenes in a way that everybody looks like they're getting what they want. Because I don't think Donald Trump loses face easily. And the fact that it's been played out on social media, I mean, we don't really know what's going on in the background till some of it leaks out into the mainstream. Can only hope that there's a smart enough group of people on both sides to temper things and, you know, come up with something that sounds so, you know, no parties, particularly on the US side, appear to be losing face. Because, you know, even on that superficial looking level, it can lead to a disastrous outcome when words are put out there and have to be backed up and, you know, matched by another action or reaction. So Donald Trump wants Greenland because he wants it. If the Greenlanders choose not to sell their island, which is their democratic right, if democracy still has any part to play. I mean, international law for the last X amount of years, with the wars that's been going on, it's kind of tricky to see where that really holds its traditional weight, because, you know, many countries have appeared to not really follow the same rules they've been preaching to everybody else. So I know about that one. Obviously, we know we're in the might is right phase. To what degree, we're learning by the day. So, yeah, Donald Trump wants Greenland, and Europe, Denmark is not prepared to relinquish their, you know, whatever kind of ownership they have historically had for the island. Funny thing is, this isn't such a new flex from Europe, because if you look in the history, they've always historically grouped up at different points in time, different countries, be it the Russians, the Dutch, the British against Napoleon, you know, the threat going against the French, or the French and, you know, somebody else, the British and somebody else, the French against the Spanish, or, you know, they've always had this grouping up thing. So that's not totally foreign to the equation. It's just, it's happening now, and it's happening amongst this big group of friends, i.e. NATO, and, you know, America increasingly looking like they're isolating themselves, being the aggressor. you got China there to the side looking on, Russia active still looking on. How do you come back from this, whichever way it goes, unless it really tempers down to a global way of doing things where you can turn around and say, well, these are the good guys, and you can't just walk into somebody's space and backyard and say, right, that's mine now because I have a bigger footprint and a larger body mass. I can just nudge you out the way. If that isn't supposed to be the rules that we live by on this globe, if that is acceptable and a stance isn't taken like Europe has just done, then I guess we're at risk of being in that space where it's completely might is right, and that is really a rabbit hole I don't think anybody wants to, apart from some, go down in a hurry, because I believe that goes in the direction of, compared to what we are supposed to be practicing, form of democracy, goes in the kind of anarchic kind of a direction. So yeah, this stuff is very baffling and easy to understand on another level. The bigger dude wants what he wants. The smaller dude thought he was a mate of the bigger dude, and now the only thing that could probably save, exposed to the elements here, save the day is if, as they say, cooler minds prevail, and an understanding can be arrived at, because it's more than just Greenland, I think. This is really about, if you do nothing now, from Europe's perspective, there might be no stopping this roller coaster type movement. So, if one country can say, well, I want this because it's of national security interests and strategic value. So what's stopping China looking at Taiwan and saying, well, it's of national security interests, or we want to, step into our neighbour's backyard and take that as our own? What's to stop, Russia's argument that their borders were, they were at risk of NATO getting too close to their borders, and, they made their move based on national security. You see where I'm going with this? So if the supposed good guys can abandon the previous way of doing things and go down that might is right route, you can't really turn around and preach to others in that same said arena and tell them that what they're doing is wrong when they do exactly the same said thing you've just demonstrated. So I'm going to leave it here for now. This is going to really grow and build throughout the day. I just wanted to say a few things on this story, and I'm going to follow it up, and I'll be probably going live later when I get indoors from the CornerSpeak studio space. I just want to do a quick shout out to the video sponsors. Small Debts. If you are having any kind of problems with your money, particularly like online, or if you've been scammed, or if you've had to pay a bill that you weren't rightfully supposed to pay, and you need somebody to step in on your corner and defend you and get that money repatriated. If it's a rent deposit you need repatriated, and the estate agent or landlord, whoever, are reluctant to pay you that money, and at the end of your tether, Small Debts can step in your corner and help you sort out those issues. Too busy to chase invoices, they can do it for you. One-off credit control action emails, they can automate that for you. Credit control management or full self-service invoicing and collection, all done. And they also give you a free initial assessment of your case, and they'll take it from there. Smalldebts.co.uk, their information's in the description. Look them up. Have a brilliant day if you can. Thank you for spending some time here with myself, Onyeaje, here at CornerSpeak, on the go. I will see you soon. Oh, let me know what you think about this hoo-ha. Drop your comments in your views and opinions in the comments. I like to read them and get back to you as soon as I can. And also, if you haven't yet subscribed, hit the bell icon. I'll catch up with you soon. On your ad here at CornerSpeak. Be good, be safe, and be creative. For now, I'm out.